What's going on everyone? So welcome back to another video. This time April is over. We are starting a new month, May, and May is my favorite month because this is my month. It's my birthday month, it's 14th of May, and what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the movies that I have watched during April. I didn't watch too many movies like I did on March just because I have been doing so many stuff, including my short film. So I didn't watch too many films, which is good, so this video is not going to be too long. And just welcome back to our new video. Relax, sit back, and just enjoy this list. And I will not include the spoilers, so don't worry about that. And just welcome back to another video here on this channel, Royal Horror. Jungle of love. This video will include horror and non-horror. And first, I have my phone over here. And the first movie that I watched is As Above, So Below from 2014. Now, I gave this movie 3 stars and a heart because this is the first time that I watched this movie, and I'm so mad at myself because it took me this long to watch this movie. It's a great found footage. Found footage is one of my favorite subgenres in filming in general, horror and non-horror, and I think this movie has great cinematography, great acting, great characters, and a few creepy situations at the end and in the middle of the movie. But the only problem with this film that I have, in my opinion, is that some situations were quite cheesy, including the gem. It didn't feel like a horror movie that the gem could cure people. So that was quite a minus point, but in general, it's a great movie. It's a fun watch with friends. And if you're into found footage, definitely check this movie out. The next film that I watched is Ma from 2019. Now, this is quite funny because when I watched this movie, it was the first time watching it. I always left this movie on a side because I knew it was going to be boring because of the reviews that I had been watching. And when I watched this, I was with my best friend, and we just wanted to watch something different because we love watching movies, horror and non-horror. So we were like, let's watch Ma, it seems interesting. So I gave 1 star. Basically what I wrote is, Octavia saves this film, and that's true. This actress is the one that it maybe is worth a rewatch. Yeah, this movie is so slow. I don't know why they decided to go for a slow burn, and also the characters, they're so annoying and so forgettable. And to be honest, I'm 22 and I'm quite tired of seeing teenagers in horror. Like, we have so many films with that. We should bring back like 20 people into horror, because the next film that I watched, and this film, my best friend and I will watch this directly after Ma. So that film is Would You Rather from 2012. Now, I gave this movie 1 star and a half, and the main reason is because I felt bored throughout the whole movie. This movie had a great concept, don't get me wrong, but I'm not a big fan with movies, horror and non-horror. They take place at the same place throughout the whole movie. And this movie is the reason why, because this movie takes place, the whole movie, at the living room of this rich man. We have seen scenes in the beginning and at the end where it takes place in a different areas. It's just so repetitive. It feels like the same thing happens over and over again, and I think that was quite annoying in my opinion. The next film that I watched is The Darkest Hour from 2011. I gave 2 stars and a half and a heart because I like this movie. Now, this movie, I, to be honest, love aliens or like space stuff, and this movie, I'm so glad, I'm so thankful that it took in a different place than USA. It takes place in Moscow. I think the characters, like I mentioned before, they are in their 20s, so I felt way more connected with these characters. I love them. There is one death that I didn't see coming at all, and if you watch this movie, you know which death I'm talking about. Now, what the reason why I gave 2 stars and a half is because at the end, it feels quite cheesy and quite cliche. Next film that I watched is Zack Snyder's Justice League from 2021. This movie I gave 4 stars and a whole heart. To be honest, I love superheroes. I love DC, Marvel, even though they're not superheroes, X-Men. But this movie is very long, but I personally didn't feel that tired while watching this movie, but that's because I love the superheroes from DC. Now, the next movie that I watched is a remake, and it's House of Wax from 2005. Now, I gave this movie 4 stars and a half and a whole heart, and the reason is because I think this movie, yes, I'm gonna say it, this movie is underrated. Like, I don't know why this movie has received so many hate from many horror fans and non-horror fans. I think the villains, they are quite cool. I love the connection between them, the whole storyline. I love what the museum look like. I love the characters. The next movie that I watched is Widow's Walk from 2019. This is a British film. I gave 2 stars, and the main reason is because what saves this movie is the whole cinematography, the whole camera work, the whole atmosphere, because this movie is beautiful. This movie looks beautiful. But at the same time, the storyline is very boring. The film that I watched is The Strangers Pray at Night from 2018. I gave 3 stars and a whole heart. And I love The Strangers, the first Strangers from 2008. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love home invasions, I love slashers, and this movie combines both. I actually enjoyed this movie. The only bad thing about this film is that I think it happens very quick, like everything feels rushed. Now, the next movie that I watched is Bloodfest from 2018. I gave 1 star. And I have said it before, but I'm not into comedy and horror combined. Some horror comedies are great. For example, the first Babysitter from 2017, Happy Death Day, the first one and the second one, those are great horror comedies. But Bloodfest, to be honest, felt so bored. The next movie that I watched is Lights Out from 2016. I gave 3 stars and a half and a whole heart. The main reason why I love this movie is that fact that this was a short film and it became a full film. So I really admire that. And the storyline is quite creepy, it's quite entertaining, it's quite cheesy at the same time, but it just is very fun to watch. The cast is very memorable. The next film that I watched is Pan's Labyrinth from 2006, a Spanish film. I gave 5 stars. This movie is perfect. To be honest, love this movie so much. I remember being obsessed as a kid while watching this. I gave a whole heart, and the main reason is because this movie knew how to combine fantasy, action, drama, war, and horror. This is one of those few movies that knows how to combine different genres into one movie. And the main reason is because I love how everything looks like. Some CGI right now looks bad, but this movie is from 2006, so I forgive that. And the horror creatures and the horror elements of this movie are quite cool, especially this guy. And you know which one I'm talking about. I would really recommend watching this movie, and please watch this movie in Spanish with subtitles in English. I think it's way funnier, and I think you really feel more the acting from the cast. Almost ending, the next movie that I watched is Annabelle Comes Home from 2019. I gave 2 stars and a half and a whole heart. And the main reason why I gave the heart is because I love Annabelle, I love the Conjuring universe, but this movie is definitely the weakest from the whole Conjuring universe. And the main reason is because what happens in this movie is very cliche. It's full of cliches in horror. I honestly quite felt bored because I was like, when is the cliche gonna stop? And I love that the Warrens appear in the first act. I think they gave such a good vibe to the movie. Now, the next film that I watched, and this is the lowest grade that I have given into April. Friday the 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan. Now, this movie was so funny because I watched this with my friends, with Kylie, Leanne, and Seb, and one of their friends. We just had so much fun while watching this movie via Discord, and we were just laughing, we were having such a good time online, but it's not a secret that this movie is very bad. What I wrote is definitely one of the weakest installments in this franchise. The only way to enjoy this movie is by watching it with some friends, which I did. The next film that I watched is Snow White and the Huntsman from 2012, the movie from Kristen Stewart. I gave 5 stars and a whole heart. This movie is beautiful, this movie is amazing. I love the whole cinematography, the whole action, the whole storyline, the performance, the designs, the wardrobe. Now, almost ending, the next movie that I watched is The Woman in Black from 2012. This movie is beautiful as well. I gave 4 stars and a whole heart. I love the whole environment, I love the whole gothic vibe, I love the performance. The Woman in Black, she's very creepy and I love her. Definitely give this movie a watch, it's very worth it. The next movie that I watched is White Chicks from 2004. I gave 2 stars and a half and a whole heart. I love this comedy, I love the early 2000s comedies, I think they're quite fun. The only problem with this movie is that it has some jokes all over the top, like those jokes they will never have been written in my opinion because they're quite strong. Some characters are quite annoying, but I just love the main two guys. I think they're way too fun and I love them so much. Such a great comedy, definitely give it a watch. The next two movies that I watched are The Hill Have Eyes, the first one and the second one, and I watched them like in a row, one after the other. To the first movie I gave 2 stars and a half, and the main reason is because I think the cannibals in this movie they still look cartoonish like the one from Wrong Turn, but it's a great storyline. I think I love that it's a family and not friends or a couple. The second movie I gave 2 stars. The second movie feels more like an action movie than a horror movie. There is just from the middle act until the end act just feel like I mentioned before, the same things happening over and over again. I think from these two I will watch more the first one than the second one. The last two movies that I watched are Shazam from 2019. I gave 3 stars and a whole heart. And the main reason is because the storyline is still quite cheesy, quite cliche. We have a superhero trying to battle a villain that wants to destroy the world. But when the last movie that I watched, I regret so much taking so long to watch this movie, and that is 30 Days at Night from 2007. I gave 4 stars and a whole heart. The main reason why I love this movie is that I love the cinematography. I love the whole vibes, wow, how everything looks so cold. I love the color palette, the blue, the black, the green. You don't see bright colors. You don't see yellow. You don't see red. You don't. I mean, apart from the blood. But just in overall, I'm planning to do a whole review because I love this movie so much. I regret so much that it took me this long to watch this movie. And just before we go, another film that I watched, but it's not on Letterboxd. It's because it is a short film and it's called Guild. And you can find this movie free on YouTube. I will leave a link up in the comment section below. My friend Kylie from Haunted Hippie, she was part of this movie as a producer. And this movie is only half an hour, so it's so calm. You can watch this whenever you want to because it's half an hour. But I love the whole cinematography. I think the camera work was so good. And alright everyone, so thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it didn't take too long. I love doing this kind of videos at the end of the month because like that we can discover movies that maybe we don't know. And just don't forget to subscribe, give a like, and do all that supportive magic that really helps me in a tremendous way. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.